Hello and welcome back to Level Playing Field. Today's episode is what I like to call Football for Blondes. Now, I can say that because A, I was a blonde child and I've been a blonde in the past. B, I'm a hairstylist, so I literally make people blonde for a living. But anyways, today we are talking all things football. I will briefly be covering the historically goated quarterbacks because they really do set the standard for how we measure greatness today, and you'll probably know some of their names. But honestly, when it comes to the running backs and wide receivers, I don't know enough about them to accurately give an opinion on them because some of them were even retired before I was even born, so I never grew up watching them. So we won't be talking about them today. I'm totally down to do a more throwback player episode if you guys are interested in that, but for today, we're going to just stick with the active players because, let's be real. We're really here for the active players anyways, right? They're the guys we're going to be watching, and maybe your favorite college player is about to become one, so that's what we're going to focus on in this episode. I'm not a coach or a ref, and I don't know everything, but at the end of this episode, I'm going to go over more of the way the game is played, the rules, the penalties, and stuff like that. But don't worry, it's not going to sound like a lecture. I don't know enough to be that in-depth with it, but I just wanted to go over it so you can then understand why these players are so elite. But we're just keeping it simple. We're having fun because, remember, we're just here to level the playing field, not become ESPN analysts, okay? So, to start out, we are going to be talking about the top 5 best quarterbacks in NFL history. Now, all of my information I got from the internet, so if you have a different opinion, that's fine. I have a different opinion. I'm going to be reading off of my computer screen a lot, so if I'm looking down, I'm looking at my computer. I just want to make sure I'm getting the stats correct. But in addition to that, I'm going to be putting a picture of the player and just a list of the stats that I think are important on the screen so you can follow along with me. So we're going to be starting from the bottom and going to the top. So in 5th place, we have Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is regarded as one of the most naturally talented quarterbacks the NFL has ever seen. He spent the majority of his career with the Green Bay Packers before continuing later in his career with the New York Jets, and now currently on the Pittsburgh Steelers, and struggling with injuries a little bit because he's kind of old, honestly. I'm not a huge Aaron Rodgers fan, but I also don't dislike him either, so I guess I'm kind of neutral on him, so him being in 5th place honestly means nothing to me. Next, in the 4th place spot, we have Joe Montana. I never watched Joe Montana play in real life because he retired before I was even born, but according to the internet, he is often mentioned as one of the most clutch and successful quarterbacks in NFL history. He won 4 Super Bowl championships and was named Super Bowl MVP 3 times, while also never losing in a Super Bowl appearance. Apparently, he was known for staying calm under pressure, which earned him the nickname Joe Cool. But I don't know anything else about him because I wasn't alive yet. So if you want to learn more about Joe Montana, ask anybody in your life over the age of 50 who likes watching football. Now, in the 3rd spot, we have, who is my number 1, Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning is known as one of the smartest and most influential quarterbacks to ever play the game. He spent the majority of his career with my Indianapolis Colts before finishing his career with the Denver Broncos. He retired as one of the most decorated players in league history, winning 5 NFL MVP awards, which is more than any player in NFL history. You hear that, Tom Brady? He also won 2 Super Bowl championships, one with my Colts and one with the Denver Broncos. His impact on the game continues to influence how today's quarterbacks lead their teams, which, in my opinion, makes him the GOAT. But I'm not biased at all, I swear. Okay, at the number 2 spot, and you Swifties will definitely know this guy, we have Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes has only been in the league 9 years and is already building one of the most impressive quarterback careers the NFL has ever seen. Drafted by the Kansas City Chiefs in 2017, Mahomes quickly became the face of the league and one of the most popular current quarterbacks. He's racked up MVP awards, multiple Super Bowl appearances, and 3 Super Bowl championships, where he also won 3 Super Bowl MVPs. He basically coined the no-look pass, which I'll put a video of that right here, and other crazy trick plays, and he's definitely on track to enter the greatest of all time conversation if he keeps playing the way he is and can stay away from getting injured. Going into my opinion about him, I'm not a huge Patrick Mahomes fan. I don't necessarily dislike him either, but the Chiefs and Mahomes dynasty of winning a lot and going to the Super Bowl often feels to me like the Brady Patriots era, and I don't like that at all, which is actually the perfect segue into the number one greatest quarterback of all time spot, freaking Tom Brady. Tom Brady is widely considered the greatest quarterback in NFL history. He played 23 seasons in the NFL, mostly with the New England Patriots, before finishing his career with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Brady holds the all-time records for passing yards and touchdown passes, and he retired with 7 Super Bowl wins, which is more than any player in NFL history. He was the 199th pick of the 2000 draft, which is crazy low, and somehow, unfortunately, ended up becoming the winningest quarterback ever. He's also the only quarterback to win a Super Bowl in 3 different decades because he's old, alright? And if you somehow can't tell, I'm not a fan of Tom Brady, but he is really good, okay? We are now moving on to the modern day active quarterbacks, the ones that you're actually going to be watching. I'm going to be leaving Patrick Mahomes out of this part because I just talked about him and I don't need to talk about him twice, but he is still an active quarterback and he is definitely still among the best quarterbacks in the league. I have some good news. I actually like every single one of these players we're about to talk about, which is kind of rare because I feel like I'm kind of a hater. I'm trying not to be. But I like every single one of these guys, so this is going to be fun. We're also not going to rank them 1 through 5 like we just did, because since they're still actively playing, they can fluctuate season by season on who's better than the other. So it'll be in no particular order. Well, maybe a slightly particular order, because we're starting with my favorite one off the list, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is one of the most accurate passers in the league. He consistently completes a high percentage of his passes, and he puts the ball exactly where it needs to be, which is in the hands of his best receiver, Ja'Marr Chase, who we will be talking about a little bit later. His chemistry with his wide receivers, especially Ja'Marr Chase, is one of the best in the NFL. One of Joe's biggest strengths is how calm he is. Even when defenses are rushing him or the game is on the line, he rarely looks panicked. That composure allows him to make smart decisions instead of forcing risky throws. Dare I say, he's the new Joe Cool? Here on the pod, we are big fans of Joe Burrow, okay? Quick little insert, and this might just go right over your head. Just hang with me. When it comes to fantasy football, for me personally, I always try to draft Joe Burrow and Ja'Marr Chase, because since they're on the same team, when Joe Burrow throws a touchdown pass to Ja'Marr Chase, I get a point for both players. Next, we have Josh Allen. Josh Allen has one of the strongest arms in the league. He can easily throw a 60-yard bomb. He's also one of the most physical running quarterbacks in the league. He regularly rushes for hundreds of yards and multiple touchdowns each season. Near the goal line, he's often used like the running back because he's so big and so hard to tackle. Every year, he's in the conversation for MVP because of how good he is. And he actually just won the NFL MVP in 2025, which isn't last year, but it's the 2024 to 2025 football season. We are big fans of Joshy Josh on the pod as well. Next, we have Lamar Jackson. Lamar isn't just a quarterback who can run. He's actually one of the best runners in the entire league, regardless of position. He has over 5,000 career rushing yards, which is extremely rare for a quarterback. Lamar has won multiple MVP awards and consistently puts up highlight reel level plays. When he's healthy and playing at his best, he's one of the hardest quarterbacks in the league to stop. We are also big fans of Lamar on this podcast because he was the quarterback of my championship fantasy football team this past year. Next, we have Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts is another one of those dual threat quarterbacks. He throws for thousands of yards each season, but he also rushes for hundreds of yards and a high number of touchdowns. Near the goal line, he's one of the most reliable scoring threats in the league because of his strength and running ability, but also because of the tush push. And if you've never heard of the tush push, I'll put a little clip right here. Jalen Hurts has proven that he can show up in high pressure moments, including deep playoff runs and leading the Eagles to a Super Bowl championship in 2025. Finally, for the last quarterback on this list, we are talking about Matthew Stafford. At 38, Matthew Stafford is the oldest quarterback on this list, but he's one of the most respected veteran quarterbacks in the NFL right now. Over his career, he's thrown for more than 50,000 yards and hundreds of touchdowns, consistently ranking among the league's top passers. After winning a Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Rams, he proved he could lead a championship team, and having just won the NFL MVP award for this most recent season, he's still proving that he can play at an elite level. Now, we're moving on to the powerhouses of the team, which is the running back. Now, again, when I was doing my research, and I was looking up who the GOATed running backs of all time are, literally only one guy on the list have I watched actually play in real life, and that is LaDainian Tomlinson. The other guys were Jim Brown, Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith, and Walter Payton. Walter Payton retired 10 years before I was even born. So instead of me just rambling off some stats about them and having absolutely no opinion on them because I've never seen them play football, we're just not even gonna touch that. And like I said earlier, if you want an episode on like the history of football and the guys way back a million years ago, I'm more than happy to do that. Again, these are in no particular order because like I said before, year to year they can fluctuate on who's the best. But like I did before, we're gonna start with my favorite, which is Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey is considered the most complete modern running back because there isn't a single part of the position he can't do at an elite level. Christian McCaffrey can play running back or receiver, making him one of the hardest players in the NFL to defend. When healthy, McCaffrey is often the centerpiece of his team's offense. Next, we have my next favorite, which is Jonathan Taylor. We are big fans of JT here, but Jonathan Taylor is one of the strongest downhill runners in the league. His mix of strength and speed makes him one of the most dangerous traditional running backs. During his breakout season in 2021, he led the league in rushing yards and rushing touchdowns. That year really established him as one of the elite running backs in the league. Although he's dealt with some injuries, when JT is healthy, he is the core of the offense and he consistently produces 1,000+ yard seasons and strong touchdown numbers. Next, we have Derrick Henry. At around 6'3" and over 240 pounds, Derrick Henry is built more like a linebacker than he is a running back. And once he builds momentum, he is extremely hard to bring down. It's not unusual to see him go for a 60 or 70 yard touchdown run, which is super rare for a running back of his size. In 2020, he rushed for over 2,000 yards in a single season, which is something only a handful of players in NFL history have ever done. His booty also pops out a lot, so here's a video of that. Next, we have Saquon Barkley. Every time Saquon touches the ball, there's a pretty good chance he's going to score. He combines quickness, strength, and top-end speed, and he can spin move or even hurdle defenders. Then he can outrun the entire defense downfield and score. When he's healthy, he's one of the most naturally gifted athletes at this position. And finally, we have Bijan Robinson. Bijan Robinson can do everything you want in a modern running back. He's a strong runner with breakaway speed, and he's also an excellent receiver. That dual threat ability is exactly what today's NFL looks for. He has the personality and playing style that draws attention. The NFL loves players who are exciting to watch and easy to market, and Bijan has already become one of the most talked about young running backs in the league. He's still early in his career too, only 3 years in and 24 years old, and he's already producing at a high level, so he's on track to be one of the best running backs in the league currently. Now we're moving on to the players that are what highlight reels are made for, and that's the wide receivers. Now, again, when I was researching the all-time greats, none of the all-time greats are active players, so you may or may not know them. These are definitely more recent than the running back guys, so I'm gonna put a picture of them and their stats on the screen, and if you want to know more about them, honestly, you could just look it up. Watch some highlight reels on YouTube. I don't really have a category for this next receiver, but he's one of my personal favorites, so I have to talk about him. We're talking Odell Beckham Jr. So he isn't retired, but he's a free agent, which means he's not signed to a team right now. And that's mostly because of injuries. He entered the league in 2014 with the New York Giants and immediately became one of the most exciting wide receivers in football. In 2019, he was traded to the Cleveland Browns, and then in 2020, he tore his ACL and missed the rest of the season. The Browns eventually released him, and in 2021, he signed with the Los Angeles Rams. That same year, the Rams went on to win the Super Bowl, but poor Odell tore his ACL again during the Super Bowl game and couldn't even finish it out. Thankfully, the Rams won the Super Bowl and got him a ring. But in his prime, Odell was easily one of the best receivers in football. He made one of the most iconic catches in NFL history, And even if you don't watch a lot of football, I'm sure you've seen it somewhere. I'll post a video so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. But to this day, if someone makes a crazy one-handed catch like that, I'm like, oh my gosh, she just Odell'd it. So now we're moving on to the active modern wide receivers. And like I've been saying, these are in no particular order because year to year, their stats can change. And when it comes to injuries, that can really throw off their statistics a little bit. So these are just general full career statistics, and I will explain why that's important to know in just a second. So starting off, we have Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson doesn't just have one big season. He produces at an elite level every single year. He reached 9,000 receiving yards faster than any receiver in NFL history. When you combine early career production with consistency, that's usually a sign of all-time greatness in the making. The only issue with JJ right now is that he doesn't have a good quarterback throwing to him, but even still, he retained his streak of having over 1,000 receiving yards in a season, and oddly enough, he only had 2 touchdowns. Even if you don't really know who Justin Jefferson is, you probably know his signature gritty dance because it became one of the most viral celebrations in sports and even made its way into pop culture like video games and social media trends. Now, next in line is Tyreek Hill, and Tyreek Hill is one of those players that I was just saying a second ago, injuries have really screwed him up. But Tyreek Hill is, or was, one of the fastest players in the NFL. They call him the Cheetah. One small mistake by the defense and he is gone. I'm not a huge fan of him personally, but he is one of the most exciting players to watch. Every time he touches the ball, fans expect something big to happen, and a lot of the time, it does. He was actually insane when he played on the Kansas City Chiefs, but the injury bug bit Tyreek and he tore that ACL up so bad, the team that he was most currently on, the Miami Dolphins, just straight up cut him from the team. So who knows what his future looks like, but in his prime, he was pretty unbelievable. Next on the list, we have Davante Adams. So the goal for any wide receiver is to get open, and Davante Adams does it better than almost anyone. He is one of the best receivers near the end zone because his route running is so sharp. He can fake out defenders and get open quickly, which is why he consistently has high touchdown numbers. He runs the exact route he's supposed to, and he gets open when expected. And that kind of reliability in a receiver is what makes a good quarterback look like a great one. He's also a current favorite of mine because he was on my fantasy football championship team, which I'm going to mention again. Next on the list, we have Ja'Marr Chase. Remember Ja'Marr Chase from earlier when we were talking about Joe Burrow, who big fans of Joe Burrow, don't forget that. Even though Ja'Marr Chase is still pretty young, he plays with confidence and composure. He doesn't look nervous in big moments, especially in playoff games and close matchups. He's had multiple huge performances where he's completely taken over and helped his team win when it mattered most. And that's mostly attributed to his chemistry with his quarterback, Joe Burrow. They played in college together at LSU, so they have a deep-rooted connection and the ability to trust each other in critical moments, which is so cute. Next on the list, we have CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb is what I call a true number one option, meaning he gets the majority of the team's passes thrown his way, and he still produces. Even when defenses know he's the primary target, he continues to put up big numbers in receptions and yards every game. On important third downs or late game drives, he's often the go-to option because he rarely makes mistakes. I'm pretty neutral on CeeDee Lamb. I don't really have anything good or bad to say about him. But I have to put in my 2 cents really quick and talk about my new favorite wide receiver, who is Puka Nacua. In my opinion, he's the best wide receiver in the league right now today, and I'll tell you why. In 2025, he literally led the league in catches and finished only 78 receiving yards behind the leader, which was Super Bowl champion Jackson Smith-Njigba, okay? Puka has quickly put himself in the elite wide receiver conversation. He's one of the best receivers in football right now, and he needs more recognition. So here you go, Puka. He's also one of my favorite wide receivers because he was also on my fantasy football championship team. But he was honestly probably the biggest contributor, so we're big fans of Puka Nacua on this podcast. Okay, for this next part, I'm not trying to make you feel dumb. I just know that understanding the rules and positions and everything can be very overwhelming. So I simplified it in the easiest way possible to understand, okay? Basically, the whole point of football is each team is trying to score more than the other team by moving the ball down the field and into the end zone, okay? What is the offense doing and how are points scored? So when you're on offense, your goal is to get down the field and score a touchdown, right? But you don't just have unlimited chances to get down the field. You have 4 downs or 4 tries to continue moving the ball farther down the field. This might sound confusing, but once we get to the end, it'll kind of all make sense. So you start on first down when you get the ball. So what it'll say on the screen is 1st and 10. So you need to go 10 yards to get a new set of tries so that you can keep trying to get farther down the field. So you'll start on 1st and 10, and let's say you go nowhere. Now you're on 2nd down. So this is your 2nd try. So now it says 2nd and 10. You still have 10 yards to go to get a fresh set of downs so that you keep trying. So you try again, you don't get anywhere. Now you're on 3rd down. So this is your 3rd try to try to get past the 10-yard line to get a fresh set of downs. So it's your 3rd down and 10, and you're trying again, and you don't get it. Now you're on 4th down. And this is where things get kind of dicey because now you have a couple different options. You can either kick a field goal, which I'll kind of explain in a second, but kicking a field goal gets you 3 points, but you have to be within a certain amount of yardage to the field goal post, which is probably somewhere around 50 yards or so. So if you're too far away, the kicker knows he just can't make it. So if you're close enough, you can just try for a field goal so you at least get some points. The other thing you can do is you can go for it. So even though it's 4th down, this is your last chance to get past that line to get a fresh set of tries. Let's say you go for it and you get it. Okay, now you're on 1st and 10 again. You're on 1st down. Now you have all of those chances again to keep going farther down the field. But if you don't get it, wherever they stop you and you don't get past the line to get a 1st down, the ball stays right there and the defense and offense switch. The offense doesn't make it, play stops. Now wherever the defense is, they are starting on offense and they're going the opposite way to try to score. That can be tricky. You can put the defense in a really great position to get on offense and score. So you want to be careful when you do a 4th down. That normally really only happens either later in the game when they really need to try to get a 1st down, or when they're within a yard of the 4th down and they know they can just basically dive across the line. The other thing they can do is just punt the ball away, which basically means that's the end of the offense's turn. They're just giving the ball to the defense, but they're giving them the ball as far away from where they're going to try to score as possible. That's basically the gist of when you're on offense and you're trying to get down the field. So how are points scored? You score a touchdown, that's 6 points. The kicker then kicks an extra point, which then gives you 7. So that's why you normally see scores in increments of 7. So let's say two teams are playing and it's 0-0. One team scores and they get 6 points, and then the kicker kicks an extra point. Now they're at 7. Let's say you score a touchdown and you kick an extra point and you have 7 points. Well, now you're tied, so now you're going into overtime. Or what you could do is you could go down, score a touchdown, so now you have 6 points. The other thing you can do is called a 2-point conversion, which means what it sounds like. You're gonna get 2 points, and now you have 8 points. So now you're in the lead because they have 7 and you have 8. And now you win. That's something that you do a little bit later in the game when we're either going to go into overtime or we could just seal it right here. But if you miss the 2-point conversion, then you don't get any extra points at all. So then now you're stuck at 6. Now you're going to lose. Okay, coming to the end of this episode, I wanted to just quickly go over some common penalties because this is where the people that you're watching sports with are screaming at the TV. This is just basically what refs are looking for that's going to make them throw a flag. The first one is called a holding, which is basically just where a player grabs or illegally restrains the other player. This happens a lot on the offensive line, like when they're trying to block, they're grabbing their shoulder pads. I think that's called a horse collar. It's usually a 10-yard penalty, so if it happens on the offense, they get a 10-yard penalty, so they have to move back 10 yards. If it happens on the defense gets a 10-yard penalty, which moves the offense forward 10 yards. The next one is a false start, which is when an offensive player moves before the quarterback hikes the ball. So the big guy in the middle of the offensive line, the center, is the guy who hikes the ball to the quarterback. The quarterback has to give a signal, and then the guy hikes it to him. So before that happens, the other big offensive guys who are down on the line, if they even slightly flinch, it is crazy how little they have to move before a ref will call a false start on them. They can just barely flinch and they throw a flag. False start. It's super common. You'll see it all the time. It's just a 5-yard penalty. The same thing can happen on the defensive side, which is called an offside. So that's just the same exact thing. But when a defensive player jumps a little bit before the ball is hiked, And same thing, 5-yard penalty. The next one is pass interference. So this is probably where people are screaming at the TV. Basically, what a pass interference is the defender, the cornerback, or the safeties. They interfere with the wide receiver trying to catch the ball in too handsy of a way. They can jump and swat the ball away. I mean, their goal is to make sure this guy doesn't catch the ball. But you can't just do anything you want to make him not catch the ball. You can't just tackle the guy before the ball is even near him. You cannot grab them on the shield, like grill part of their helmet. You can't do any of those things. And it can be a really big penalty because what happens is when they call pass interference, the ref will throw the flag to where the spot of the foul happened, and the offense gets the ball at that spot of the foul, regardless of if the receiver caught the ball or not. It gets an automatic first down as well. So a huge penalty that you don't want to do if you're on defense. The next huge penalty is roughing the passer. Once the quarterback throws the ball and he doesn't have the ball in his hands anymore, you cannot tackle him. You can barely even touch him. They call it so quickly too, which is good because you don't want anybody to get hurt. But sometimes it's like, are you serious? And sometimes they don't call it and you're like, hello, that was so clearly roughing the passer. But like I was saying with pass interference, some of these defensive penalties give the offense an automatic first down, meaning they get a fresh set of downs at the spot of the foul and they can start from there, which is huge for the offense and sucks bad for the defense. And the reason they have those in place is because the defense can't just do whatever they want to stop the play, like I was saying earlier. So having that automatic first down in place prevents defenses from committing those penalties on purpose to stop the big plays. The most serious ones are the face mask, because like I was saying, he could pull his face away, that could really hurt his neck. That's a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down. Unnecessary roughness is where it's kind of just what it sounds like. If you hit somebody way too hard and it doesn't need to be that hard, or they're already out of bounds and the play's over and you still tackle them out of bounds, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down. Late hit, which is the same thing as roughing the passer, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down. And the last one is targeting hits. The other thing you can't do is you can't go helmet to helmet. You cannot lower your head and smash your helmet into another player. That can give them a concussion. You could break your neck. It's just very dangerous. So if anybody lowers their head, or if you're just flying at someone to tackle them and the ball isn't even near them, that's a targeting hit. That's a 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down. Okay. That is all for this football episode. I know that was a lot of information, and this is the longest video I've recorded so far. So that was a lot of talking on my end. It's a lot of ground to cover, a lot of little things that you need to know to understand, but all of the extra detail stuff you don't need to worry about. All of the things I told you in this episode are just what you need to sit down and enjoy a game and know what you're watching. The goal here isn't to make you an expert overnight. It's just to help you understand football, to make it less overwhelming and less confusing when you're watching it. And there's so much more to get into. I mean, we have the drama of the players, we have the debates, all the storylines, everything going on around the league, but we're learning, we're taking it one step at a time, and we're leveling the playing field one episode at a time. Thank you so much for watching. As always, make sure you like this video and leave a comment. Let me know what you learned, what was confusing, what you need more details on. I'm more than happy to do like littler, more in-depth videos on TikTok or Instagram if you would like that. So leave a comment and let me know. I hope you got something out of this, and I hope football feels a little bit less intimidating now. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more videos. Bye!